All right, what's up, fight fans? Welcome back to another KJ MMA show, and we have a doozy of a card this Saturday from London. Of course, it's UFC London, and it's headlined by a very interesting heavyweight bout, Curtis Blaydes and Tom Aspinall. Garrett, let's start there. I am so excited for this one, and nothing really gets me more excited than when we have a heavyweight bout in the main event, and this is a really good one. Tom Aspinall, a lot of people think that he is going to be a future champion, and he's got to get through Curtis Blaydes, a guy that has a very difficult style. We know how great his wrestling base is, and this is going to be, if Aspinall can get by Blaydes here, it's going to be the biggest win of his career thus far. Aspinall is a minus 130 favorite. Blaydes is a plus 110 dog. How does this one play out?
Oh, man, it's hard for me not to take Curtis Blaydes as an underdog in this spot, considering Blaydes has never been an underdog in his entire mixed martial arts career. And it's kind of crazy to me, the plethora of, high-level athletes and high-level fighters that he's faced. And Tom Aspinall is the one that he's an underdog against. I guess that's, the hype behind Aspinall being in it, UFC London, at the main event as well. He's been looking good. So I think a lot of the public is, siding towards him. I think 70-75% of the public is also on him. But I'm taking Blaydes here. There's no way I should not be taking Blaydes as an underdog. It's the first time we're going to get him as an underdog, probably the last as well, because I feel like he's just going to absolutely dominate Aspinall, especially in the wrestling. Aspinall has never faced a wrestler even remotely on the same level as Blaydes. Aspinall knows that this is arguably his toughest matchup in the heavyweight division. He's said it before. And, with Blaydes, his striking has gotten a lot better. And we've seen that he's being more comfortable on the feet. And I feel like he can compete with Aspinall on the feet, make him feel comfortable on the feet, take him down, control him, and just ground and pound for the entirety of the fight.
All right, I'm actually going the other way. I think Aspinall is the real deal. I think he gets the win here. I mean, you look at how quickly he's finishing some high-level opponents. I mean, Alexander Volkov, that straight arm lock. If this does hit the ground, Blaydes has to be concerned with Aspinall's BJJ, so there's that aspect of it. And then we know how much power Aspinall has. I think this is a case for me where I just think that Aspinall is going to catch him with something big and get him out of there. And it's just going to be one of those things where, this happens in heavyweight fights. You get guys that are fast with a lot of power, and when they land, that can be all she wrote. I think that's what's going to happen here. I think the London crowd is going to be going nuts for Aspinall. I don't think Blaydes is going to be able to hear anything from his corner, which I have to imagine that's probably not going to help him in there. So that's where I'm going. I think that this is a very worthy main event of this stacked card. So that's your main event. The co-main, we have the action man, Chris Curtis, stepping up again against Jack Hermansson. Curtis and Hermansson, it's almost a pick 'em. Hermansson's minus 115. Curtis is minus 105. I know where my heart's going. I know where my head's going, but I'm going to ask you first, Garrett. What's the play here?
I'm taking Chris Curtis. I'm riding the wave, riding the hot streak. He's 8-0 in his last 8 fights. He's looking phenomenal, 3-0 in his UFC tenure so far. You got a guy that's defended over 20 takedowns in 3 fights, which is absurd. Granted, only one of them was a high-level wrestler, but being able to defend that many takedowns shows that his growth has been there, especially in his defensive grappling. Hermansson, he's good everywhere, but I feel like his best bet is taking the fight to the mat and either grounding him out or possibly getting submission. But Curtis has, I think, never been submitted in his career, or once. That's it. It has been any time, recently. And on the feet, I think Chris Curtis has the fight won at distance. It just boils down to he can't be a slow starter again like he did, like he has been in previous fights. Because Hermansson can finish you early on. So I'm hoping Curtis can pick up the pace in the first round and keep it moving, because he's the much better striker of the two. And if this fight plays out on the feet, Curtis, I think, runs away with it.
All right, I got an interesting question for you, because Jack Hermansson's last fight was a split decision loss to Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland and Chris Curtis are boys. They're training partners, so you can't imagine that they're ever going to fight one another, but they have sparred. How do you think that happens? If they're in there and they're slinging leather and they're going for it, how would a Chris Curtis, Sean Strickland fight play out? Who would you lean towards winning?
Oh, Curtis all day.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not high on Strickland. I mean, he's had a fairly easy road to get to the top 5, top 6. I mean, he hasn't really beaten anybody elite, and then once he faced someone elite, he got knocked the fuck out. So I think Curtis is on that elite category. I think he can mix it up better than Sean. I think he's better to the punch. I think he can mix it up a lot better. And, I would definitely take Curtis in that spot. But I don't think they'll ever fight.
Oh, of course not. I guess I was just talking about because that was Hermansson's last fight, and Curtis and Strickland are very close friends and training partners. So, this for me, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Chris Curtis continue this hot streak and spring another upset because on paper he's not supposed to beat Jack Hermansson. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I can't believe that the line is as close as it is right now. I mean, Curtis made it into the UFC later in his career. He suffered, some losses early on, and he's looking great right now. But on paper, Jack Hermansson should win this fight. If he fights a smart fight and he keeps Curtis, utilizes his length, I firmly believe Hermansson's going to win a decision here. I don't think he finishes Curtis because I think he's very durable, but I'm going with Hermansson here. I think he gets it done.
You think Hermansson could win if he doesn't get takedowns? I can't see that.
Well, I think you're not maybe giving him enough respect on the feet. Like I think,
I don't rate Hermansson on the feet at all. He got absolutely teed off on by Sean Strickland for 25 minutes with a jab, might I add. He couldn't get by a jab. Obviously, going in, Curtis is going to do that recipe, jab, and he's got a quick jab. And also, Hermansson, who's he fought that's really going to dig to the body like Curtis does. The later the fight goes, he's digging to the body. It's not fun when you're eating those body shots for 15 minutes.
No, we'll see what happens, but I am very intrigued with this one. If Chris Curtis gets this win on short notice, stepping up here for this fight against Jack Hermansson, I mean, what could you say? This is nobody really saw this coming. He's going to be a legit player in the division. Let's move to what probably is the people's main event, right? Paddy Pimblett, Jordan Leavitt. Paddy Pimblett's a sizable favorite, minus 245. Jordan Leavitt is a plus 205 dog. I kind of like taking Jordan Leavitt with those odds. I'm not as high on Paddy Pimblett as a lot of people are. I don't think he's a flash in the pan, but I also don't think he's Conor McGregor. And I feel like that's kind of the trajectory a lot of people are saying that he's going to be on, but Conor was a legit champ in his heyday. I don't think Paddy Pimblett's ever going to hold a UFC title. I just don't see it happening. And I think this is a dangerous matchup. The Monkey King Jordan Leavitt is very unique, and he's a challenging puzzle to crack sometimes. So I don't know. Do you agree with me, or do you feel like Pimblett's going to rock him and get him out of there?
Definitely taking Paddy Pimblett. I'm not high on Jordan Leavitt at all. I think he's a boring fighter. I don't think he's a good fighter. He can't strike at all. He doesn't want to engage on the feet whatsoever. He wants to stay on his bike, throw kicks, never throw a single punch because he doesn't want to get hit. And it's no takedown, no party for him. He doesn't land a takedown, he doesn't win a fight. If he doesn't land on top, he doesn't win a fight. When he was on bottom of Claudio Puelles, he didn't do anything. He got beat to shit. It was pretty straightforward. If he doesn't land on top of his opponent, he's losing the fight, period. I don't think he's a great wrestler. I think he's undersized for 155 on top of it. He looks like he could probably make 145, but he doesn't want to cut a lot of weight. He's just, to me, not a good fighter. And also, I don't know where this big confidence is coming from. He's fought and beaten bad competition. No faults to Trey Ogden. He's not he's not an elite level competition. I know Paddy hasn't faced the best competition either, but Leavitt's talking about two guys that Paddy's faced that aren't in the UFC. What about 2 of the 3 wins that Leavitt has? They're not in the UFC anymore either. So they're pretty much facing the same level of competition, albeit I think Paddy's faced better competition on the regional scene than Leavitt has. And it pretty much boils down to if Leavitt doesn't get a takedown, he's probably getting knocked out. Plain and simple. I don't think he's going to get him down. I don't think Leavitt really does anything or really gives any troubles to Pimblett in this fight. I think he walks through him. And mind you, the UFC is giving Pimblett a fight to look good. Why would they give him a fight that he's going to look bad in London as a featured bout on the main card? Because this is, like he said, going to be his last fight in London because he's probably going to be on a pay-per-view. So give him his last fight, make him right into the sunset in London, and then he'll be on main cards in the pay-per-views and start really putting some, like you said, putting some bums in seats. And I agree with that.
That all makes sense. I just am not sold on Paddy Pimblett. That's really what it boils.
I completely agree with you there. I'm not completely sold on him either. But these are cake matchups. Jordan Leavitt is a cake matchup because Leavitt can't strike. He went against Luigi Vendramini. He's got power in his hands. He went against Rodrigo Vargas. He's got power in his hands. Now you got Jordan Leavitt, who can't throw a punch to save his life. So Pimblett's probably going to shine on the feet. As long as he doesn't get taken down and get laid on, because he's not going to get subbed. Apparently runs away with this all day.
The question that I think everyone really wants to know is, if Jordan Levitt does win, what's the over-under on him twerking?
Oh, minus 1,000. like the line would be set at minus 1,000 because of the fact that he's definitely 100 million% going to twerk. It's guaranteed. Yeah. And I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
I was cringing the last time I saw him twerk. I was like, oh God, please stop. Anyways, let's transition into the next fight, which is a really interesting one. A former title challenger. I mean, really, when he was in his prime, this guy was almost as good as it gets in the division. Alexander Gustafson, a plus 170 dog against Nikita Krylov, who's a minus 200 favorite. And the thing that concerns me for this one, if you're in Alexander the Great's, or no, that's Volkanovski, Alexander Gustafson's camp here, is the fact that he's a technician, he's a point fighter, and Krylov is a dog. Like, he's someone that is going to go in there and mix it up and fight with you. So it makes me a little nervous because I do like Gustafson. I've always been a fan of his, and I'm not so sure just stylistically that this matchup is going to favor him. How do you see this one going from a betting perspective?
Yeah, I can't fathom betting on a guy that hasn't won a fight in 5 years, I believe. I mean, mind you, the guy's 35 years old, and he hasn't won a fight since he was 30. You know how crazy that is? He's 30 years old, and he fell off a cliff after 30 years old. Like, completely off a cliff. He even ballooned up to heavyweight, lost there against an age Fabricio Verdum. That was horrible. And then Krylov hasn't looked. I mean, granted, his fight IQ is possibly one of the worst in the entire light heavyweight division, but other than that, he's faced good competition. He's beaten good competition while Gustafson has been on the sidelines for the last couple of years. I'm taking a shot on Krylov by decision at plus 380. I think Gustafson possibly could, weather the storm, not get knocked out, not get finished. I think he's got good enough, submission defense, and I don't think Krylov is a heavy hitter. So I'm taking Krylov to win the decision. I got it at plus 380. I think that's a great line, a great prop bet. And, 3 of Krylov's last 4 fights have gone to a decision, so I'm taking a shot there.
Yeah, I hate the fact that you're right, but I think you're right here. And it's really unfortunate because Gustafson's fall has been rather significant. Let's move to Hannah Goldie, Molly McMahon. Molly McMahon is a minus 390 favorite. Hannah Goldie is a plus 320 dog. Can Goldie pull an upset here, or is she in trouble?
She needs a finish if she wants to pull an upset, because if it goes to the judges, there's absolutely no effing way she's winning that fight. So even if it's remotely close, she's not winning a split decision in London with Molly McCann and the crowd going absolutely nuts. So she's got to finish her. Could it happen? Yeah, it could happen. Is it likely? Probably not. I got Molly McCann to win. I don't think there's any money to be made on this fight, but I got McCann to win.
All right. Paul Craig, Volkan Ozdemir. Paul Craig plus 135 dog. Volkan Ozdemir minus 155 favorite. I just interviewed Dustin Jacoby the other day, who had another big win, a guy that's surging in the top 15, and he's got his eyes on this matchup because he wants to fight Volkan Ozdemir next. If Ozdemir goes in there, looks impressive, and gets the win here, does he get the win, or is Paul Craig going to pull a minor upset?
Oh, Paul Craig's getting the win here. Absolutely. I think Ozdemir's on his last legs, even though he's not that old, but he's looked the worst he's ever looked recently. He hasn't looked good. His gas tank isn't there. Doesn't throw combinations. He's a one-hitter quitter. If he doesn't get that one-punch knockout, he's probably losing this fight. I think Craig has gotten a lot better in his stand-up to be able to compete with Ozdemir, and I feel like at one point, Craig is definitely getting Ozdemir down on the mat. At some point, he'll either drag him there, he'll take his back, he'll trip him there, something, some way, somehow. This fight is getting to the mat, and that's when it's all over, because Ozdemir, Craig is arguably the best submission specialist that Ozdemir has faced his entire career. And, mind you, he got subbed by Anthony Smith, who I rate Craig better than in jiu-jitsu than Smith. So I think Craig takes this. I think he gets the submission, probably inside 2 rounds, and gets it done. And plus, Craig is arguably one of the most profitable fighters you can bet on, even with losses. If you bet 1 unit on him in every single one of his fights, you still be up 10 to 11 units, which is insane.
Interesting matchup. I'm really looking forward to this one. I want to talk about Boston Strong, Charles Rosa, a huge underdog, plus 430 against Nathaniel Wood, a minus 560 favorite. My eyes popped out of my head when I saw this, Garrett, and I could tell by the expression on your face that you're with me. This line is way off.
This is crazy. You're talking about Nathaniel Wood has never been a minus 600 favorite against anybody in his entire career, dating all the way back to the bums that he was facing in Cage Warriors. He wasn't even a minus 600 favorite against John Castaneda, wasn't minus 600 against Jose Quinones, Andre Ewell, Johnny Eduardo, Ludwig Shalinian. The list goes on. And now he's moving up to 145, mind you. He's fought at 145 earlier in his career. But you're talking about he's facing a guy that's arguably the most experienced fighter he's facing in his career, and up a weight class, and he's minus 600. I don't think so. I'm taking Charles Rosa here. I'm taking a shot at him as an underdog. I like him to win by submission plus 1,000. Wood has been submitted in his past. Rosa is definitely the best submission specialist that he's faced in his entire career as well. BJJ black belt, very well versed on the mat. I feel like Wood, he's going to get a hard fight. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like as the fight goes on, he's going to start to fade. He's done it before. We've seen it in the Casey Kenny fight. He was fading. And if there's a lot of grappling involved at 145, he hasn't fought at 145, and he hasn't fought in a couple of years, I feel like that's going to take a toll on him. And possibly Rosa can take his back and sink in the choke and get it done.
All right, I'm intrigued for this one. I'm Team Rosa, Boston Strong. You know where I'm from. So, all right, Jonathan Pierce, JSP is a minus 200 favorite against Makwan Amirkhani, a plus 170 dog. Another interesting fight here. I'm kind of on the fence. I feel like it could go either way. What are you thinking about this one, Garrett?
I'm just trying to figure out, when has Jonathan Pierce looked like a minus 200 favorite? I mean, I don't think he should be minus 200 against Makwan Amirkhani, who's faced good competition throughout his entire career. He's been a mainstay in the featherweight division. He's extremely tough, durable. The only knack on him is his cardio. We've seen it that he wilts as the fight goes on. But I feel like the best way, I'm betting Amirkhani. I got him at plus 190. Now it's all the way down to plus 150, plus 160. So money's been pouring in on him. I expect him to get an early submission win. If he doesn't, you can live bet Pierce, who should be closer to a pick'em after round one, where I probably think Pierce will probably start to, pull away in rounds 2 and 3 if Amirkhani can't get it done in the first round. But I took a shot at Amirkhani to win plus 190.
All right, Mason Jones, a minus 345 favorite against Ludwig Klein, a plus 285 dog. Mason Jones is getting his hand raised here, isn't he?
I think he is, but it's going to be a lot closer than a lot closer than that line suggests. I mean, Klein is a lot bigger than Jones as well, like a lot. I didn't notice how big of a size difference this is. That's a big size difference, but it's going to come down to cardio, where I think Jones will be able to go a full 15 minutes, no problem. He can go to war for 15 minutes, no problem. Whereas Klein, I think he will start to fade as the rounds go on. Later in rounds 2 and 3, he's going to start to fade because he's got a lot of muscle on him. So, and he's going to have to go to a war. He's going to have to go through a war for 15 minutes, and I don't think he's going to be able to do that for 15 minutes. So I'm going to take Mason Jones to win, but I think it's going to be a very close fight.
All right, the fight that I feel most confident about on this whole card, Muhammad Mokaev, a minus 450 favorite against Charles Johnson, a plus 360 dog. Any chance Charles Johnson springs the upset, or is this Mokaev all day?
No, this is Mokaev all day. Unfortunately, I'm a huge fan of Charles Johnson. I've watched him, for a while, especially back in the LFA days. But the one thing about him is I don't like his takedown defense. He gets taken down a lot. We've seen it in the Yuma Horiguchi fight. He gets pushed back a lot as well. He's not the one that's coming forward. He's always on his bike, having to use his lateral movements to stay off the fence. Well, Mokaev is going to come forward. He's going to take him down and probably just beat him up on the ground for either 15 minutes or eventually get him out of the inside 2 rounds.
Jai Herbert, a minus 275 favorite against Kyle Nelson, plus 230 dog. Is this line right?
It should be. I think so. I expect Herbert to go in there and get a knockout. These guys are going to throw down early and often. I really like the under 1.5 rounds. I don't expect them to go over 7.5 minutes. Majority of, I think 5 of Nelson's last 7 wins have gone under 1.5 rounds. And Herbert, I think 2 or 3 of his last 4 have also gone under 1.5 rounds. So I expect one of these guys to get knocked out early. And I think Herbert's probably the one to do it.
All right. Mark Diakese, a minus 330 favorite against Demir, had Rovere a plus 275 dog. I like Diakese on the feet. The guy's slick. I feel like he gets the job done. Are you with me, or is Demir springing the upset here, Garrett?
Yeah, I got Jack Casey to win as well. I don't like his line at minus 380. Hazovich doesn't really do much for me. I don't think he's better than Jack Casey anywhere. I think if Jack Casey wanted to make it easy, an easy fight, just go in there and take him down. I mean, Hazovich went against Hanato Morikano, who is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but I mean, he literally took him down, took his back, and subbed him in 40 seconds. So that's how bad his grappling is. And Jack Casey showed that against Slava, he can go that route and he can wrestle fuck you for 15 minutes. And I feel like he can do that here in this fight.
All right. 2 fights left. Mandy Bohm, a minus 130 favorite against Victoria Leonardo, a plus 110 dog. I'm not so certain which way to go on this one. I feel it's kind of a coin toss. How do you see it going?
Don't bet on this fight. That's how I see it going. Just don't. Just don't waste your time trying to figure out who to bet on. Just to be a degenerate and want to bet on fights. No, do not bet on this fight. If I had to pick, I'd probably take Bohm just because I love to fade Leonardo. She's one I've always faded, except for in her Contender Series fight. I actually took her against Hackett. But, yeah, Leonardo's no takedown, no party. She's not going to win the fight on the feet. And if she doesn't get a takedown, Bohm wins. I'm expecting Bohm to probably just outstrike her for 15 minutes, but who knows?
All right, and what looks to be the curtain jerker of the evening, Nicholas Dalby, a minus 250 favorite against Claudio Silva, a plus 210 dog. I like Dalby here. I think he gets it done. I think he maybe even gets Claudio out of there. How do you see this one going?
On paper, Dalby should win, but from his social media posts, I would never bet my money on him. He doesn't look like his head's in it. This could be his last hurrah. I don't like betting on guys that really aren't really for fighting. That's not hungry, and I don't think Dalby's really hungry to fight anymore. Granted, he's going against Claudio Silva, who's definitely, this is his last fight as well. Silva's looked terrible. He's looked slow and doesn't have cardio, and Silva pretty much needs a takedown to get on top to win. Ultimately, I think Dalby wins, and Dalby should win. It's an easy fight for him. But, anything could happen. Dalby could get taken down and submitted too. So.
All right. Well, that covers all of the fights for UFC London. Make sure you tune in early because it is an early start for this weekend's card. And next week, we'll be back early for UFC 277. And obviously, that's the huge Nunez-Pena title fight. So a lot to talk about next week. But for Garrett, this time right now, I am Ryan, and we will see you guys next week.